Secretary Noem, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff recently said that the Trump administration is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus. Last week, you were asked about this, and I want to clarify your position because it's obviously really important to get this right. So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country.
I saw this clip this morning, and I could not comprehend how the former governor of an American state, the former governor of South Dakota, the dog killer herself, the dog annihilator, is oblivious to one of the most basic protections that the American Constitution offers. Oh my God, how is this possible? It's like, it feels as though she heard someone else who doesn't understand what habeas corpus is describe like what Abe Lincoln did, okay? And then just picked up the pieces to be like, no, habeas corpus is when the president gets to do whatever he wants. That's what habeas corpus is. I'm not American, but what that lady said sounded wrong. Yes, habeas corpus is a restriction on government, not an allowance of the government. It's a restriction on the government that impedes on the government's powers to erroneously claim that someone is a criminal without showing merit, without showing evidence, without and restrict your liberties. It is due process. And it goes beyond the American Constitution. It's a far older concept than just the American Constitution. Oh my God. It is perhaps one of the most significant developments of the Western world. If you want to think about it as like the invention of the Western liberal democracy, habeas corpus is at the heart of that. This is why I bring up the fact that courts existed even when kings did, okay? Kings had overwhelming power, and yet courts still existed even when monarchies were around. Like, what are we talking about? This is like going beyond monarchies. This is something new. Like, we're not even trying to say, we got to roll time back to when we had monarchs. We're saying we want to roll time back to before we even had courts. Yeah. Here, habeas corpus from medieval Latin, you should have the body, is a legal procedure by which a report can be made to a court alleging the unlawful detention or imprisonment of an individual and requesting that the court order the individual's custodian, usually a prison official, to bring the prisoner to court to determine whether their detention is lawful. Habeas corpus is generally enforced via writ and accordingly referred to as a writ of habeas corpus. It is a summons with a force of a court order. It is addressed to the custodian, such as a jailer, and demands that a prisoner be brought before the court. It is one of the most important aspects of due process, and ironically enough, it is the exact opposite of what she suggests it actually is. It is literally the opposite of what she is saying. It almost feels like she learned what this concept was just to say the reverse of it. Like, how do you accidentally arrive at the exact opposite position? How can you be this stupid?
Suspend their right
let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
President Lincoln used it. No. This is why I'm saying, like, she heard someone else. She heard someone else try to describe this to her. The person that she heard this from probably was also wrong. Also, I think Maggie Hassan here should let her cook, should let Kristi Noem cook. I don't know why she's cutting in to correct the record. Just let her openly say the wrong thing and let her look like a goddamn moron. She heard it from Tim Pool and half remembered it. Oh my God. Yeah, she means Abraham Lincoln used habeas corpus is wrong. Okay? It's the opposite. Okay.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason.
They fully know what habeas corpus is. They are actively trying to manufacture cassette and mislead the public to destroy habeas corpus. This has been their goal all along. No. They do want to destroy habeas corpus. They've openly said that they want to suspend it. Okay? But that's not what Kristi Noem is doing here. She's just stupid. It goes along with the agenda of the administration, but that doesn't mean she is aware of what she's doing. No, she's just dumb. Because the correct way to mention it would be to say Lincoln suspended it. It had to be suspended. And this is a time of unprecedented danger, and that's why, regardless of all of the hurdles that the radical terrorist Democrats want to present against our big, beautiful agenda, we must do what is right in this time of unprecedented violence. That's the reason why we have to revoke habeas corpus. This is impossible. It's you have to sometimes forego these kinds of constitutional protections in an effort to make sure that Americans can live a life of peace and security. That's what you would say if you know what the fuck you're talking about. Abby, don't give them the talking points. No, dude, come on. Are you stupid? They know there are people who are capable of crafting this message. Kristi Noem is not one of them. She's just stupid.
Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the live free or die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has...
Yeah, she just learned in real time because Maggie Hassan up and literally explained it to her.
The authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let us be clear, though,
it has never been done. It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress. So I have been asking executive branch nominees a simple question over the past few months. If the president orders them to break the law, I've been asking, will you follow the law or follow the order? I want to ask you a more specific question here. If the president tries to suspend habeas corpus and a federal court reverses the president's order, will you comply with the court order and uphold habeas corpus, or will you follow the president's directive?
We are following all federal court orders and are complying with that, as is the president, and every decision that I make as well.
That is obviously not true for anybody who reads the news. There are federal court orders right now, including returning somebody who was deported mistakenly. But to be clear, this is about a fundamental legal right that ensures that we live in a free society instead of a police state that would have a sham legal system like Russia or North Korea. So I'm glad that you have now committed to following court orders. I'm glad you believe in the basic freedom for Americans if ordered to do so by a court. And again, I want just to make clear that it is critically important that even if the president tries to suspend the right of people to know why they've been detained or imprisoned, if a federal court reverses that order, that you will follow that order. And I hope all members of the administration will, because it's obviously critical that some of the people, for instance, who've been deported by mistake, who didn't get due process, be...
Once again, I have to go back to the basics and describe why due process is important. Due process is important because without it, any member of law enforcement or deputized person can just decide that you are a criminal and without trial, without due process, expeditiously send you to a slave labor prison in El Salvador. And without due process, anyone and everyone could be Hamas. Without due process, anyone and everyone could be considered a non-citizen. because without due process, you can't prove that you are actually a citizen, or you can't prove that you are actually innocent. Okay? This is precisely the reason why it's a terrifying thing that the Trump administration is trying to entertain. They wouldn't do that. You're fear mongering. Oh, shut up. That is the whole purpose. If they wouldn't do that, then they wouldn't be entertaining the notion of revoking habeas corpus. What the are you saying? Stop. Stop trying to troll me with this dumb shit. Okay, Chunky Gurga. Stop. It's not funny when you guys think you're trolling. Haha. Yeah. They're law enforcement because they're good people. I know. You got me. You trolled. I know. I'm in the process of explaining something and you're portraying yourself as, look, you're portraying yourself as like the average dumb guy as a joke because you're like, oh, this is such a stupid thing to say that like obviously no one would take this seriously. The problem, on the other hand, is there are people that are this stupid. We are in a totally new planet right now with political discourse. You need to understand. Not saying that like you shouldn't be hog posting or whatever. I love that. I think it's funny. And we love entertaining hog posting around these parts. But like you have to understand, there are literally people who do actually have this perspective. So while I'm in the process of explaining why it's important, like when you hit me with that, I'm going to assume instantly that you are one of those people. Maybe it's my fault, and it probably is my fault that I've entertained too many dumbasses.
Senator,
But it is alarming where political discourse is nowadays. You've been reinforcing it. I mean, maybe it's because I stare into the abyss too much.